Hello, welcome to Louisiana Heartbeats. And this episode today, we have a very talented nonfiction author, life coach, actor, actress, and playwright, Patricia Drury Sidman. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very happy to have you here today. Patricia, you've led such an interesting, active life. And today I want you to share a little bit about your history. You've lived an active life. You've lived many places around the country.
Right.
Please share with the viewers about.
Well, okay, just I call myself tri-coastal, which I am. I was born and grew up in California, through high school in Southern California, and then lived in Northern California, which may as well be two different states. And then went from there. All my moves up until the last one were for professional reasons. So jobs took me to Washington, D.C., and then to New York City, and then to Minneapolis.
Ooh, a little cold spot in
Yeah,
the
a little chilly for 6-8 months. It's kind of the exact reverse of Lafayette. Long, long winter, practically nothing else. Here it's long, long summer, practically nothing else.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Michigan, so I know.
Okay, you understand that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I lived there for 26 years, and then I made my last move to Lafayette was in 2010, and that was for love.
Oh.
I got married here and to a professor at UL, and that was my first marriage. And I was not quite at retirement age, but getting there, and so I've been here. Now, professionally, I have had 2 careers. The first one was as a health policy analyst economist, which is what took me to Washington and New York, and I ran nonprofits, and I worked at high levels in government and all that exciting stuff. And I learned a tremendous amount, but it was not satisfying in the long run.
Yeah,
It's a very frustrating world and a very difficult world, and you have to.
You told me that one day you had an epiphany.
Yeah. Oh, there was nothing to it. I just sort of woke up one day and said, "I'm done." That's it.
I'm sure a lot
I'm
of
out of
people
here.
would like to say that.
Well, and I risked everything. I walked away from a job and turned down a contract and dropped my income almost to the floor and said, "Don't care, not going to do it anymore." And then started talking to other people, having other ideas, and pulled it around. And I trained to be a life coach and got certified as that. I worked both in private practice and in a corporate setting as a life coach, which is something I thoroughly enjoy and still do some of.
So giving your life experience to people, giving your wisdom.
Well, I don't actually tell them, I don't give them my wisdom, I help them find their own.
Okay.
I've learned how to ask really good questions so people will ponder something and discover what's true for them. Then I might reinforce it, but I don't tell them what to do. It's not like a football coach that says, "Do this."
Yeah.
So tell me how'd that go for you? What do you really want? That kind of question.
Okay.
And I've worked with thousands of people over the last 10 years, 12 years.
Well, you began stating that California you'd always consider that place a home.
Yeah.
And we have a picture to share about this experience.
Yeah, that's my picture of the California coast,
in your mind's eye, that is.
Yep, that's my happy place.
That's
I grew up not far from the ocean, got to see it off and on through, by the time I was a teenager, I could get there whenever I wanted to, and I always try to get to an ocean in the Pacific if I can every year. That's where I feel myself.
I grew up on the Great Lakes, and I know that importance of water.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
That is just, I think about it this time of year especially.
Yeah.
Approaching summer and getting hot here.
Yeah. But that is, California is not a place I would live now. It's much, much more crowded, and the economics are just off the scale, and there's a lot of reasons not to live there, but the land in California is my favorite place, and especially the coast.
Do you make a connection because of that was your youth? And
I think so. And it's also, not only was it my youth, but it's where I went when I wanted to think, when I wanted to reflect, when I needed to make decisions. Even after I'd long since moved away, I'd go back and I'd spend hours by the ocean just to let things move through my mind, and I got clarity. There's something about the quiet and the waves and the sun and the sound, and just,
that
it was easier to think.
That's what your soul feeds on.
It is.
Well, since you've been in Lafayette, you had in 2015, was it, or 16?
What?
That you earned a artistic
2017.
17 at the ACA, and you've written an original play. Maybe we could go on to the still life photo.
Yeah, I should say in the Twin Cities, I was a storyteller. So this is still more than a play, it's a sequential storytelling. That's what I like to do on stage, and I think storytelling is, theater is plays are storytelling too, but we told multiple stories in this.
Yeah, that narrative really connects with the audience.
It does, and it's, the difference is you talk to the audience instead of talking to each other and letting the audience watch.
So you break the fourth wall.
Breaking the fourth wall. I like to work without the fourth wall. And this was Still Life, was about being a woman over the age of 60, which sounds like the biggest snooze you could possibly want to go to. But I did this with 6 other actresses. There were 7 of us, and we did a series of monologues, all of which I wrote, but one of them preceded our time, and then we told stories from when we were young, which was mostly about the experience of the Vietnam War and some of the obstacles that faced women then. They're still around in other forms, but they were really, it was things like divided want ads, so you couldn't apply for the jobs that said men and things like that, but my generation experienced. And then we told stories about how things are now, including the funny stuff about growing older. And then we did some pieces about envisioning the future we'd love to see and that we still work to try to make happen.
Now, I have to tell you, the cast of this play was magnificent. Maybe we could go to that cast photo of Still Life.
Yeah, that was all my
These
favorite actresses and people I'd worked with or competed with.
These actresses, would you say, had a combined experience on the stage of maybe 100 to?
I think there's at least 100 years worth of combined experience on the stage, including all the stuff we did as kids and, all that sort of thing. And they were, this whole thing started, the idea came to me when I just said to somebody, there aren't any parts for women. I'm going to have to write them if they're going to happen. And then I thought, well, everybody else is faced with that too. Why don't I write something that gets all of us a part on stage? And I did. Well, that's what I proposed to ACA, and they granted me the residency to make it happen.
This play opened at the ACA, premiered there.
Right.
And then you were given the opportunity to take it for a short run at Cité des Arts, because that's where I saw it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it was better at Cité because I added a piece that completed it.
I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you.
It was great. Do you have any plans with this play as far as taking it further?
Well, nothing specific. We've talked to people here and there about reprising it in this general area, and a couple of contacts where people in other places may want to do it with other actors. It would require a little changing because some stuff was Louisiana specific, but nothing on the boards now, but I hope it will have a life. I hope it can be done again and be done by other people. And it's there's a lot of the themes that cut through a lot of people's lives in there. What surprised me is that men and young people, and all kinds of people that I wasn't writing about resonated with it. So that's music to a storyteller's heart.
Yes, the thing that I saw, and I hear this from other people, men and women, but you, as an older person, you reach a certain age and you feel invisible in society.
Yeah.
Maybe you mentioned that was actual.
Yeah, one of the stories was about being invisible. And it was a story that was told by an actress. Not everybody told stories from their own lives, but that one was. And she just started her story with, when I turned 50, I was invisible. And
Yeah,
I just walked through life as a ghost, nobody noticed.
I mean, I knew a director in Florida who had done numerous plays. Maybe she had directed 50 plays.
Mm-hmm.
And she reached that critical age of 70, and she said, all of a sudden, I'm invisible to my peers. And what is that?
People who aren't old are afraid of becoming old, so they don't want to think about it, so they don't talk to people who are old, as if.
And like in Japan, it's just the opposite.
It's the complete opposite.
You are revered in society.
And you've made it through. You've climbed several mountains. Tell me about it. And I think it's more prominent with women than with men. I don't know. But I know women get hidden faster. And then there's all the big questions. Well, do I let my hair go gray so that I actually look my age? Yes, no, oh, to hell with it. You know, those things kind of come along. And so in the play, we were a mix of people with gray hair and people without gray hair, that we all have it. It was just who was going to go with it and who wasn't.
Well,
but yeah, invisibility becomes something which, I mean, new cultures are being created by younger generations. And part of my point in writing this was not to try to gain the attention back, but just to open up the picture and say, yeah, there's a lot going on when you're young, and it keeps going, and there's still something. And besides, you may create the immediate future, but we got to create the groundwork for you to even get here.
That's right.
So I was trying to write from that place of, we got more than something to offer. We've got a lot to offer at this age.
Very well done. It was marvelous.
Thank you so much.
Well, you have given a class. We could maybe proceed to the next picture. You have given a class called Conscious Aging Workshop.
Right.
Could you tell our viewers about that class, and maybe might be given?
I'm sure going to try to do it again in the fall. I haven't done it for a year and a half, but Conscious Aging is a program. I didn't invent it. It's a place called the Institute for Noetic Sciences, which is based in California, but it's international. And they spent 4 years talking to everybody who had anything to say about how to make the latter third of life rich and rewarding, and developed a workshop series and tested it in multiple communities to help people find that new vision for how to be old, because the culture tells you it's all over. You're invisible, and furthermore, you can't do anything, and you're stupid, and please get out of the way so I can have more resources. This doesn't look good. So as people approach age, they start getting scared. And I could certainly resonate with that. I mean, I felt it too. But I discovered this program of someone I had known for 40-some years, had some peripheral involvement. And through him, I discovered it and started reading more, and then underwent their training and certification. So I'm certified to offer the program now. It's offered in a number of places, and I offer it here. As far as I know, I'm the only one in Louisiana doing it.
Wow.
I mean, there are people in almost every English-speaking country doing it, and all over the United States, but not, more on the West Coast, because that's where it was developed, and a lot of people are out there. It's a rich program. It's designed to go for 8 weeks, but that doesn't work for very many people, so I'm trying to redesign it and get their permission to compress it a little bit, but it would still probably be multiple days and maybe 2 weekends or something. And it covers all sorts of skills that have to do with both being done with what's done, letting go with you're done with part of life, to clear room for there being something new and different, and helping people understand their own process for clearing things out, because not everybody sweeps the floor the same way. And then leads towards creating personal visions of how the rest of life can be, and what, not just the bucket list and what you want to do, but how you want things to be. Which parts of yourself do you want to develop, and which parts are you done with?
I think that's a big philosophy in American society, that when you reach a certain age, you're supposed to be playing golf, or you're supposed to go to Florida and live in a mobile home, or
and don't talk to young people because they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, you're supposed to just be mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And I never understood that.
No, and it isn't. I mean, it's very satisfying for some people, and that's one alternative. That's okay. And maybe people will decide, I want to go to a community where I'm around people like me, and that's the way I want to live and be social in that way. That's fine. It's just not the only thing. And
Right.
so there are lots of other ways, and just deepening understanding and coming to terms with physical changes that happen in aging. Doesn't spend that much with it. There's a million courses to tell you about the physical part of aging. This is about the psychological and spiritual parts of aging, and how to deal with that creatively. And as a coach, I love doing this workshop. I've done it twice here, and then for some personal reasons, I dropped it for a year and a half, and now I'm thinking I'm going to look for a good location and get the redesign done and offer it in the fall, I hope.
Oh, that's wonderful news. That's great. Maybe Cité Dessert, or?
Well, because I like to have people sit in a circle and talk to each other, a theater doesn't work very well because everybody's in a row. But haven't ruled that out. I mean, there may be some possibilities.
Okay.
I just have to look at all the buildings and what they cost and see what we can do.
Well, I wish you luck on that.
Thank you.
I think that would be wonderful for Lafayette.
Well, this program has been very well received around the world, and just a lot of energy. I mean, there are hundreds of people offering this, as I said, in most English-speaking areas. And I sort of feel bad for having dropped it, but I want to bring it back. It's good stuff. It's good stuff, and it's enriching for the people who take it.
Well, I don't know if you know this statistic, but there are 10,000 people turning 65 every day now in America.
Go baby boomers.
Yeah. So we're out there in vast numbers.
And we're not dead. We haven't fallen off the cliff on the other side. We're actually part of this world.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to ask a question about your late husband and the reason you came to Acadiana.
Yeah.
Bob was a brilliant actor. I had the opportunity to be on some projects with him, and he was a magnificent man. And sadly, he passed in the theater. And
literally, like between the second and third act of a play he was in, he passed away backstage.
And now he's being paid tribute by his name in the main stage of Cité Dessert is in his name.
Right. That is so touching to me. That was when I was told that they were doing that. That was one of the better moments I've ever experienced. He would be proud. I am proud for him. He would not say he was proud, but he would act it. and so I do that for him. And
what a powerful couple you must have been together.
Well, we were a good match because I'd been doing storytelling. That was my avocation. And he was a math professor, so theater was his avocation. And we had both been doing it for a long, long time. And then we found each other. And both of us wanted to share that, and we got a chance to do that with each other. So
Well, I'm really just feel like, this sharing, this synergy that you must have had was tremendous, and it is still ongoing in spirit for you.
Yeah, it's up and down, This business is I'm still in grief to some degree, and
Yeah,
that's why
of
I couldn't do
course.
conscious aging. One of the units is on death, and I couldn't do it for a year. Just no.
Right.
But Bob took the course the first time I did it. And so we worked through, in the course of that and privately, a lot of things about coming to terms with death. And I think that and hope that helped him make the transition. I like to think that it did. I know it helped me be able to deal with him having made the transition.
That's great. Well, recently you were the stage manager for LRE production, Tom Stoppard's play, The Real Thing.
Yeah.
And I sat there and just my jaw dropped at all the scene changes. The props were prolific on this set.
And they're flying in all directions.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, 12 scenes, 5 locations, no 2 scenes in the same place until the end of the play. So we were flying around trying to change the entire stage every few minutes. It's the
Was
hardest stage management job I've ever done.
It was actually intended for a more complex theater
It was intended for a
with
rotating
resources.
stage, so you could set a scene during another scene and then just move it into place. But doesn't exist here, so we had to take this off, put that back, move the radio here, take that one off, put that one on, get out there with get the right wine glasses, now take them off, put the other ones over here.
It was physical. It looked very physical.
It was very physical. Several of us ended up with skinned knees and bruises and things because we'd run into stuff and each other. It was a hard one. One of the actors referred to it as satanic for the stage crew, which I kind of agreed with. But it was successful. I mean,
Yeah.
we did it, and I just had to laugh. And many people in the audience had to laugh because as soon as the scene would end, the stage would be swarming with people trying to turn it into a different place.
Oh, back and forth, back and forth. Well, I have to ask you, what goals do you have in mind for the future?
I'm still writing. I'm writing something that I'm not going to talk about that I hope to get on stage in 2019. I tried for 2018, and that was too soon to start another project, and now I'm underway, and it's going to work, and I'm lining up actors, and I'm sort of getting the production ready to go, and I just have to finish writing it, and it's going well. So I want to do that. I don't know what comes after that. Probably some more theater as there are opportunities. As I said, there, as you know, not an abundance of parts for women my age. I don't want to be somebody's goofy grandmother for 5 lines. This is just, it's not worth, no. But good, juicy parts.
Well,
And so that's where I'm hoping to just keep participating in things like that and continue my own personal growth.
that's wonderful. Well, this has been so enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been interviewing Patricia Drury Sidman, and I'm the host, Dennis Ward. Another edition of Louisiana Heartbeats concludes. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Well, it went very